the focus because we are in a difficult situation.
Jimenez to chase after, gets the Sunderland, and he scores! Raul Jimenez for Fulham once again!
Full of ambition in the competition. You aim high, I'm saying always the same, but it's a really special competition.
Welcome back to The Social here on talkSPORT 2 with myself, Harry Symeou, and the brilliant Flex from the United View. It's time to talk Manchester United now. Their boss Ruben Amorim has defended captain Bruno Fernandes in the wake of some scathing criticism from Roy Keane. The club's treble-winning skipper hit out at the Portuguese international's leadership, claiming talent is not enough to succeed at Old Trafford. Amorim says Fernandes is a really important member of the squad who is just frustrated at their poor form.
Yeah, I heard about that. I have a different opinion. Bruno is really important for us in the club, special for me. He's playing well in the difficult context. He wants always the responsibility. I know that sometimes as a captain he do things like with his arms, and sometimes you see it in the criticizing the teammates. I think it's most of all is a lot of frustration for this year and the last year and the others. He wants to win, and sometimes it's really hard to deal with that frustration. But like I said, everybody has an opinion. Roy Keane has big standards from him in his time, and it's normal to have an opinion. I have an opposite opinion, and I think it's more important, my opinion, than Roy Keane, because I'm the coach, and I think he's doing things quite well.
There we go. Ruben Amorim comes out sort of defending his man there. Flex, we briefly touched on this at the top of the show, but Roy Keane was really kind of scathing, wasn't he? And I feel like he got so wound up by the subject. It almost felt a little bit uncomfortable watching. You're sitting there thinking,
felt a little bit personal.
Yeah, you can sort of make the points that he was making, but the way he was so wound up and charged up, it felt like there was maybe something a little bit more to this. Is that how United fans have taken it?
Yeah, listen, you can't speak for the whole fan base. You should never try and do that. I've seen a lot of Manchester United fans who agree with every word that Roy Keane said. You know, talent is not enough, pretender. Look at the team. Team's awful. He's not it. That's not your captain. What's he done, essentially? And Roy Keane's he's never really spoken glowingly about Bruno. I think he's always held that opinion that Bruno's a talented player, but that's his point. He said talent is not enough. So there's been a lot of Manchester United fans who do agree, and probably equal or proportionate amount who actually disagree. Bruno is the most divisive player I've seen in a long time. Actually,
why is that though? Why do you think that
within the Premier League? I think there's a multitude of reasons, right? One of the main reasons is because of his actions and how he is, right? So he's very emotional, he's very whingy, he's very whiny. He will do things that annoy you, and I'm saying that as a United fan. There's been many a time I'm like,
so then surely you understand why people feel that way.
So
I
actually do. I understand why people don't take to the character. I don't have a problem with that. What I push back on is when people try to deny the quality and the consistency. Especially we spoke about, when talking with Arsenal about the context, especially within the context of Man United, right? Because since Bruno's come to Man United in the 2021 season, we've been an absolute joke. And you say they've been absolute jokes, finished second, finished third in those times, won a few cups, but in terms of challenging for the Premier League and Champions League, nowhere near it, right? And now, the biggest pits of hell you could be in as a Manchester United fan, right? So me personally, I think we have this knack as fans for sort of going after the wrong people in turmoil. We're looking for somebody to blame. And the pushback for me is that in absolute chaos, Bruno is one of the only people who does anything with any level of consistency. He's the only player who does anything that's with any level of commitment. He's the only player who does anything with any level of dedication. And the pushback to that is, well, you're 14th. So where has it got you? So that by that same logic, when Manchester United finished second and Bruno Fernandes was having the same impact he's having now in terms of numbers, because his numbers have been consistent, ever present. His numbers have been ever present since he's got here. So when we finished second, when we finished third, was the sole reason we did that because of Bruno Fernandes? No, it's not. So I don't know why we're trying to vilify the one player who you can go around that dressing room and say, do you do your job? Do you do your job? Yes. And then you look at the off-field stuff, and I'm not just being biased because I've been around Bruno off pitch and interviewed him a couple of times and seen what he does off the pitch. He does a lot. He does a lot for the squad. You know, when Ineos are cutting the lunches or cutting the staff travel and stuff, it's Bruno offering to go out in his own pocket and fix it. That's just, that's captain material. Taking accountability, that's captain material, and he leaves it all out there. Now, these are basics of football in terms of your attitude and your application, but I just think there's too much hate for a player who has been consistent in Manchester United's worst years. If anything, it says more about Bruno than it does everything else. In an awful team, he still manages to find no excuses for doing his job. I'm going to put numbers on the table to give us a platform to do something. If you look to the goalkeeper, Onana, your job is to keep the ball out the back of the net. Do you do your job? No, you don't. You look at our wing-backs and full-backs in Mazraoui or Dalot and Luke Shaw or whoever. Your job is to defend properly and create. Do you do your jobs? No. Look at our goal scorers. Look at our strikers. Look at Rasmus Højlund. Look at Xerxes. Look at Rashford. Look at Sancho. Look at Antony. Have they been doing their jobs? No. So why we want to hound out Bruno Fernandes as the biggest problem at Manchester United and we're better off without him? Fine, no problem.
This is the problem, though, Flex. I feel like people judge Bruno Fernandes by the standards that they were judging Manchester United on 20 years ago. And that isn't the case anymore, right? We had a similar thing at our club when sort of Patrick Vieira moved on and all those brilliant players moved on. Every midfielder that came in, it was like, well, that's not Patrick Vieira. Well, hold on a minute. We're not at that level anymore. We're not at that standard. And I think fans find that really difficult to process. And as a result of that, they end up holding players up against standards that they're just nowhere near and could never meet. I agree with you on the footballing stuff, and I agree with you on the character stuff as well. I think his character makes him a target for the sort of wider sort of football audience, and then that obviously spills into the media a little bit, and then narratives, of course, develop. But in terms of this FA Cup, it's a big opportunity, isn't it, for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United to give something to the supporters that says, stick with us. I remember when Mikel Arteta won the FA Cup in his first season, everybody knew that the house around him was falling down. That was clear to see from a mile off. But in going on and winning that FA Cup, he just bought himself a bit of time. He gave people belief that he was the right guy, and it earned him the support that I think he needed to come through a really turbulent time. Is the hope that Ruben Amorim can use the FA Cup to a similar effect?
Well, it's really interesting how you say that, because, again, the context and the reality of the situation that Man United are in, right? If I'm being honest, and people can say this is standards on the floor. He's just arrived with limited, very, very limited resources in the January transfer window. Let's be honest. We brought in Aidan Heaven, the youngster from yourselves, who's not played for us. He's a young kid. And Patrick Dorgu, who actually, although he got sent off the other day, he's actually been doing okay. So no help. Even if Ruben Amorim wins no trophies, and we will finish 15th, 16th, he's still going to be Man United manager. In my opinion, he still should be. You've got to calm down and let him build the team. But, of course, a trophy added to that in the turmoil that Manchester United are in would absolutely bring some joy to Man United fans. We're not silly now, though. We've seen us win the Carabao Cup, then go on to win the FA Cup at the expense of being a really bad football team on a consistent level. So I don't think there'll be Man United fans, as shameless as I can be sometimes, and I have a laugh with it. Let's be honest. If we do win the FA Cup,
Man United are back.
There you go, Jeremy. Right on cue. It won't be that. It won't be that, because it can't be. We've seen it too many times. But in Ruben Amorim's case, yes, of course. When you are this low in the league, you have to look for the cups. You have to. It's the easiest route to do something positive between this and Europa League, which, sausage over two legs is not easy with us in our current state. And to win this FA Cup is going to be a push as well, because all jokes aside, you're right. We were our worst form last year. 8th was our worst ever. This is a new low. What we are now is way beyond that. So I just think that is the hope, and that has to be the aim. But it is going to be incredibly difficult, because we're so far off resembling a football team. It's scary.
There can't be too many teams in the league that you've done the double over already this season. So Fulham coming to town feels like the perfect fixture in some ways, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I feel sorry for Fulham fans, actually, because they probably look at it every game we come out from them. They go, how have we lost to them? Every game's close. Every game's tight. I think the last few times at the Cottage, it's been late goals. I think the one just before the World Cup, Garnacho went on a run, won it in the last minute. Last year, Bruno sat down Paulinho and Leno helped palm it into the corner from Bruno Fernandes. We won. This year, awful game between two teams. Lissandro deflected shot over Leno in. The FA Cup game, we were getting beat. We were losing quite comfortably. Fulham in cruise control. Then they just imploded. Three red cards in a matter of 30 seconds, and we went on to win that, and then go on to win the FA Cup. So yeah, the first game of this season actually. We won 1-0, but Fulham, the much superior team for large parts. So it's never an easy game against Fulham, but somehow we managed to be victorious. So we are kind of a bogey team for them. But from our point of view, it gives us that confidence because we do have a knack of beating them. And I think it will be the same on Sunday, Harry. I think Man United won't play well. Man United will concede. They'll look like they're not going to score. And somebody, probably Bruno Fernandes, will produce a moment of magic, or Harry Maguire from a set piece, or someone from a set piece or a flashpoint, and will just about nick it.
I wonder if Bruno Fernandes, if he does score the winner, will wheel away in celebration and give Roy Keane a shush signal or something. I don't know. Maybe if they do win, Garnacho can take them all out for a meal after the game. We'll wait and see.
I'm glad he's done that. Good, right move from him.
Yep, absolutely. He is indeed. You are listening to The Social on talkSPORT 2. We're going to take another short pause, and when we come back, we're going to do Twitter Corner. We're going to hear from Troy Deeney, who says Mo Salah doesn't quite pass the eye test like some of the other greats do.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.